Us at healthandnumbers.com.
36 minutes past the hour. Welcome back to the Most News in the Morning. You know, there are some new numbers out showing that across the nation, public schools apparently seem to be failing black males in particular. The graduation rates coast to coast, just 47%. The Schott Foundation crunched these numbers. And some states, though, are defying the trend. Black males in Maine, for example, have a 98% graduation rate. In New Jersey, one of the largest percentages of black students has a 69% graduation rate.
Well, in some urban areas, things a lot worse than even those numbers you're seeing. New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Nashville, Fort Lauderdale, the Florida area there, all at the national average or lower, in some cases well below. So what's going on? How can schools start to turn things around? Joining us now live, Steve Perry, our CNN education contributor and principal and founder of Capital Preparatory Magnet School in Hartford, Connecticut. Steve, always good to see you. A lot of schools will tell you, and a lot of people will tell you, a lot of these young men have issues at home. They have other distractions. They have other problems. However, the way you see it, is there any other way to see this other than an absolute failure of America's schools?
It is a profound failure of the American public education system to engage a population that is part of our community. We have to begin to realize that we know how to run effective schools. Many schools throughout the country have proven that children from historically disadvantaged populations can perform on par or better. What's standing in the way is we have committed to the adults in the building as opposed to the children in the building. And that means that we want to make sure that grown people get to keep their jobs. So we're not going to make any fundamental changes to the way in which schools run. We're just going to say that we're going to hope that the kids get better.
I want to ask you about this because we're saying that the nation's schools are failing our black male students. What, in your mind, are the biggest differences between black male students and white male students that account for these huge discrepancies in some cases?
Expectations, expectations, expectations. Children, African-American males from as young as 5 and 6 and 7 years old are the most likely to be suspended. We see educators, my group, the people I work with, we see the behaviors of African-American males beyond being mischievous as far as and being dangerous. And so we actually react more adversely to their behaviors than we do those of white children. That's just the fact. So what we need to do is we need to begin to treat children the same. In addition to that, we need to begin to expect African-American children, males in particular, to perform on par with every other group. When we see these very same children in schools in which the expectations are the same or higher, like you see in urban prep out in Midwest, or you see at Eagle Academy, or at our school where the last 2 years our valedictorian has been an African-American male, we can get children to perform. Kids respond to expectations and discipline. That's what they want. They crave it. And when they don't get it, they begin to react negatively. When we think that children want us to pity them, that's when they begin to turn on us.
And Steve, you said you have to treat them all the same, have the same expectations, but in your estimation as well, are we making a mistake, the school system, and that we're thinking every kid has to learn the same way? If you can't learn like this white boy or this white girl, then something's wrong with you. But haven't we seen that kids react differently and need to be taught differently? Even boys and girls need to be taught different.
But that's not driven by race. Yes, every individual learns different from every other individual. However, there are similarities. What we know is that when we look at some of the most successful private schools and some of the most successful public schools, they are run exactly the same. They're smaller, they have high expectations from the outset, so no one's asking you if you're going to go to college. Maybe you'll go to college, and you already know you're going to college. So now it's how we get you there. We backfill. The expectations have to be high and the support has to be high. But more important than anything, the schools have to be designed to support the children. Too often, principals, they're scared. They're scared to fire people because they don't want to make enemies. They're the wrong people for the job. Too often, teachers are not compelled to expect more, to give more homework and support, stay later, do what they need to do, and so they don't get the results. Those schools that have the highest performance, regardless of race, are the ones in which the expectations are high, the support is high, and children are first.
Why aren't we replicating these tactics then on a larger scale? You've given us those examples of successful schools. We've seen them. We've profiled some of these schools. And in some cases, they're not necessarily spending more money. Why can't that be put to practice in more of these districts? For example, New York City, 28% of black males graduate, according to this study. That's appalling.
Absolutely. The reason why is because when we do that, parents are going to choose those schools. Right now, the teachers' unions and the civil rights organizations, strange bedfellows, have come together to stop the proliferation of these schools. They have said that they don't want any more charter schools. They have focused and fought against them because the conditions that exist within them are children focused, not adult focused. So that means that when we begin to open more schools like the ones that I just mentioned and many others, what's going to happen is we're going to respond to the faculty based upon their performance. If they fail, they get fired, and nobody wants that. So it's easier to blame the circumstances, the socioeconomic circumstances, or something else that we cannot control for the performance of the children instead of the performance of the adults. When we make the commitment to put children first in the United States of America in front of the political pandering, then we will get the results. That's what the best schools do. That's what the best teachers do. That's what the best principals do. The ones who fail simply do not. They put adults' desires against children's needs, and adults' desires win out every single time. We know how to do this. This is not like a traffic accident. These numbers are not something that just sort of happened. We know how it's happening. We absolutely do, and it's all fixable today.
Well, it may be fixable, Steve, today, but nobody thinks it's going to be fixed anytime soon. We have talked with you plenty over the years about how you feel about some of the teachers' unions and how much money is gobbled up by them, tied up there, that should be going elsewhere. Steve, we appreciate you. I know we're going to be talking to you plenty down the road as we continue to cover what is absolutely an education crisis. Steve, good to see you, buddy.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
General Motors recalling nearly 250,000 crossover SUVs, potential problems with